Have you ever wondered why the people who seem to know the most often say the least? Why the loudest voice in the room is rarely the one people remember? Why the person sitting quietly in the corner can somehow influence an entire conversation without speaking a single word? Most people spend their lives trying to be heard. The smartest people spend their lives trying to understand. And those two paths lead to completely different destinies. The world teaches you to speak. It teaches you to express yourself, to share your opinions, to prove your intelligence, to defend your position, to make your presence known. But very few people are taught the value of silence. Very few people are taught that every time you speak, you give away a piece of yourself. You reveal your thoughts, your emotions, your intentions, your weaknesses, your fears. And while you're busy revealing yourself, someone else is learning everything about you. The smartest person in the room understands this. That's why he never speaks first. Because he knows that the first person to speak often loses the greatest advantage. The advantage of observation. Look around carefully. Most people cannot tolerate silence. The moment a conversation pauses, someone rushes to fill the gap. The moment tension appears, someone tries to escape it with words. The moment uncertainty arrives, someone begins talking just to feel in control. But words do not create control. Understanding creates control. And understanding comes from listening. The person who speaks first gathers attention. The person who listens first gathers information. And information will always be more valuable than attention. Attention is temporary. Information is power. Think about every mistake you've ever made. How many happened because you spoke too quickly? How many happened because you reacted emotionally? How many happened because you wanted immediate validation? Most regrets begin with impatience. Most victories begin with patience. The intelligent person understands this. That is why he studies before acting, observes before speaking, thinks before reacting. While others rush to be involved, he rushes to understand. Because understanding changes everything. When you truly understand people, they become predictable. You begin to notice patterns. The insecure person who constantly seeks approval. The arrogant person who secretly fears failure. The confident person who doesn't need recognition. The manipulative person who hides behind charm. The honest person who speaks consistently. The observer sees what everyone else misses, not because he is gifted, but because he is paying attention. Most people enter a room trying to impress others. The intelligent person enters a room trying to learn about others. One seeks validation. The other seeks knowledge. One gains temporary applause. The other gains permanent advantage. Never underestimate the power of being quiet. Silence makes people uncomfortable. And uncomfortable people reveal themselves. Watch what happens when you stop talking. People begin explaining more than necessary. They start filling the silence. They reveal things they never planned to reveal. They expose motivations they intended to hide. They show their true character, not because you forced them, but because silence invited them. Most people think influence comes from speaking. In reality, influence often comes from listening. Because people trust those who make them feel heard, not those who constantly demand attention. The strongest minds understand that influence is not about dominating conversations. It's about understanding conversations. There is a reason oceans appear powerful. They are deep. There is a reason mountains appear powerful. They are stable. And there is a reason intelligent people appear powerful. They are controlled. Control is rare. Anyone can lose their temper. Anyone can become emotional. Anyone can react. But remaining calm when everyone else is losing control, that requires strength. The world celebrates expression, but discipline is far more valuable. Because expression without discipline becomes chaos, and chaos destroys potential. Think about a sword. Its power doesn't come from movement. Its power comes from control. A sword swinging wildly is dangerous to everyone, including the person holding it. The same is true for words. Words without control create problems. Words with control create influence. The smartest person in the room understands that not every thought deserves to be spoken. Not every opinion deserves to be shared. Not every battle deserves to be fought. That realization alone can save years of wasted energy. Many people spend their lives arguing, defending themselves, explaining themselves, trying to convince people who have already made up their minds. The intelligent person understands something different. Not every misunderstanding needs correction. Not every critic deserves attention. Not every opinion matters. Because your future is not determined by what people think about you. It is determined by what you consistently do. Results speak louder than explanations ever will. Yet most people choose explanations. Because explanations are easier than results. Talking is easier than building. Complaining is easier than improving. Dreaming is easier than working. Announcing goals is easier than achieving goals. The crowd loves appearance. The intelligent love progress. That is why they move differently. They don't need everyone to know their plans. They don't need public approval. They don't need constant recognition. They understand that real growth happens in private. The seed grows underground long before anyone sees the tree. The strongest foundations are invisible. The most valuable transformations happen quietly. People often ask why some individuals seem so powerful without trying. The answer is simple. They stopped chasing attention and started chasing mastery. Attention makes you visible. Mastery makes you valuable. Visibility can disappear overnight. Value remains. The smartest person in the room knows that his greatest competition is not other people. His greatest competition is who he was yesterday. While others compare themselves to everyone around them, he compares himself to his own potential. And that mindset changes everything. Because comparison creates insecurity. Growth creates confidence. One depends on others. The other depends on effort. True confidence is quiet. It doesn't need to announce itself. It doesn't need to prove itself. It doesn't need constant reassurance. A truly confident person can sit silently because he knows his value isn't determined by how much he speaks. His value is determined by who he is. And who he is remains the same whether people notice him or not. That is freedom. The moment you stop needing validation, you become dangerous. Because now your decisions are guided by purpose instead of approval. Now your actions are guided by principles instead of emotions. Now your future is guided by vision instead of pressure. Most people are controlled by external forces. Praise controls them. Criticism controls them. Opinions control them. Expectations control them. The intelligent person seeks internal control. Because external control is weakness disguised as confidence. If someone can manipulate your emotions, they can manipulate your actions. If they can manipulate your actions, they can influence your future. That is why self-control is one of the highest forms of intelligence. The ability to remain calm when provoked. The ability to remain focused when distracted. The ability to remain disciplined when tempted. The ability to remain silent when speaking would be easier. Those abilities separate ordinary people from extraordinary people. And they are built through practice, not talent, not luck. Practice. Every day presents a choice. React or respond. Follow emotion or follow reason. Seek comfort or seek growth. Most people choose comfort. And comfort slowly becomes a prison. Because comfort feels safe. But growth requires discomfort. Growth requires uncertainty. Growth requires patience. And patience is becoming increasingly rare. Everyone wants immediate results. Immediate success. Immediate recognition. Immediate rewards. But life does not work that way. The strongest minds are built slowly. The strongest habits are built slowly. The strongest character is built slowly. The smartest person in the room understands this. That's why he doesn't rush. He knows that rushing creates mistakes. Patience creates precision. And precision creates results. Imagine a chess player. A beginner looks at the next move. An expert looks 10 moves ahead. Most people live like beginners. They focus only on the present moment. The intelligent person thinks beyond the moment. He considers consequences, patterns, possibilities, outcomes. That is why he appears calm. Not because life is easy, but because he sees further than others. Perspective creates calmness, and calmness creates better decisions. One decision can change a life. One conversation can change a relationship. One habit can change a future. That is why intelligent people take decisions seriously, because they understand the cost of carelessness. The world often mistakes silence for weakness, but silence is not weakness. Sometimes silence is restraint. Sometimes silence is strategy. Sometimes silence is wisdom. And sometimes silence is strength. Anyone can shout. Few people can remain Anyone can react. Few people can remain patient. Anyone can seek revenge. Few people can seek growth. The strongest individuals are not those who conquer others. They are those who conquer themselves. Because self-mastery is the foundation of every other victory. Without self-mastery, success becomes unstable. Without self-mastery, power becomes dangerous. Without self-mastery, talent becomes wasted. Master yourself first. Everything else becomes easier. The smartest person in the room understands that life is not a sprint, it is a marathon. The goal is not to impress people today. The goal is to build a future that speaks for itself. And futures are not built through noise. They are built through consistency. One day at a time. One decision at a time. One habit at a time. Most people underestimate the power of small actions, because small actions seem insignificant, but repeated actions become habits. Habits become character. Character becomes destiny. Your future is being created right now, not tomorrow, not next year, right now. Through what you choose to think, through what you choose to tolerate, through what you choose to become. That is why awareness matters, because awareness precedes change. You cannot improve what you refuse to see. You cannot strengthen what you refuse to challenge. You cannot transform what you refuse to acknowledge. The observer understands this. That is why he watches carefully, not only the world around him, but himself, his thoughts, his weaknesses, his habits, his fears. Because the greatest battle is not against the world. The greatest battle is within. And the person who wins that battle becomes unstoppable, not because he becomes perfect, but because he becomes intentional. Every action gains purpose. Every decision gains direction. Every sacrifice gains meaning. That is what separates exceptional individuals from average ones. Purpose. Most people drift through life. Exceptional people navigate through life. One follows circumstances. The other creates circumstances. One waits for opportunity. The other prepares for opportunity. One hopes. The other acts. The smartest person in the room doesn't wait for the perfect moment. He prepares until he becomes ready for any moment. And preparation creates confidence. Not fake confidence, not loud confidence, real confidence. The confidence that comes from knowing you've done the work. The confidence that comes from discipline. The confidence that comes from effort. Nobody can take that confidence away, because it was earned, not given. Remember this. The world is full of people trying to look successful. Far fewer are trying to become successful. The world is full of people trying to appear intelligent. Far fewer are trying to become intelligent. Do not become distracted by appearances. Focus on reality. Reality always wins eventually. Masks fall. Pretenses collapse. Excuses expire. But reality remains. And reality rewards preparation. Reality rewards discipline. Reality rewards patience. The smartest person in the room understands this deeply. That is why he never feels pressured to prove himself. Because he knows that time reveals everything. Time exposes weakness. Time exposes deception. Time exposes truth. And truth always survives. So the next time you enter a room, resist the temptation to impress people. Resist the urge to dominate every conversation. Resist the need for immediate recognition. Instead, observe, listen, learn, pay attention to what others miss. Notice what others ignore. Understand what others fail to understand. Because knowledge gathered quietly becomes power used wisely, and wisdom will always outlast attention. At the end of the day, the smartest person in the room isn't the loudest. He isn't the most aggressive. He isn't the most visible. He is the most aware, the most disciplined, the most patient, the most observant. While others are busy being seen, he is busy seeing. While others are busy speaking, he is busy understanding. While others are busy proving themselves, he is busy improving himself. And that is why he wins. Not immediately, not dramatically, but inevitably. Because silence taught him what noise never could. Patience taught him what impatience never would. And understanding gave him something attention never can. A lasting advantage. So remember this powerful truth. The smartest person in the room never speaks first. Not because he has nothing to say, but because he knows that before words create influence, understanding creates power. And power belongs to the one who understands the most.